Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. We will be concluding the Chaitanya Charitamrita reading today. We'll be reading from the last chapter, chapter number 20 of the Antya-lila, the Śikṣāṣṭaka prayers. Mukham karoti vachalam, pangum lankayate girim, yat kripa tamaham vande Shri Gurum Deen Tarenam, Paramananda Madhavam, Shri Chaitanya Ishwaram, Hari Om Tat Sat. The following summary study of the 20th chapter is given by Srila Bhakti Vinod Thakur in his Amrit Prabha Bhashya. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu passed his nights tasting the meaning of Śikṣāṣṭaka in the company of Swarup Damodar Goswami and Ramananda Rai. Sometime he recited verses from Jayadev Goswami's Geet Govind, from Srimad Bhagavatam, from Sri Ramananda Rai's Jagannath Vallabh Natak, or from Sri Bilvamangal Thakur's Krishna Karnamrita. In this way, he became absorbed in ecstatic emotions. For the 12 years Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu lived at Jagannath Puri, he relished the taste of reciting such transcendental verses. The Lord was present in this mortal world for 48 years altogether. After hinting about the Lord's disappearance, the author of Chaitanya Charitamrita gives a short description of the entire Antya-lila and then ends his book. Verse 1. Premod bhavita harsher shyo vega dainyarti mishritam lapitam gaura chandrasya bhagyavatibhir nishvayate. Only the most fortunate will relish the mad words of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, which mix with jubilation, envy, agitation, submissiveness and grief, all produced by ecstatic, loving emotions. Verse 2. Jai Jai Gaura Chandra Jai Nityananda Jai Dvaita Chandra Jai Gaura Bhakta Vrind. All glories to Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, all glories to Lord Nityananda, all glories to Advaita Chandra, and all glories to all the devotees of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Verse 3. Emata Mahaprabhu Vaise Nilachale Rajani Divase Krishna Virahe Vihvale. While Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu thus resided at Jagannath Puri, Nilachal, he was continuously overwhelmed night and day by separation from Krishna. Verse 4. Swarup Ramananda E Dui Jana Sane Ratri Dine Rasa Geeta Shloka Aswadane. Day and night he tasted transcendental blissful songs and verses with two associates, namely Swarup Damodar Goswami and Ramananda Rai. This was verse number 4. Moving to verse number 5. Nana Bhava Uthe Prabhur Harsha Shok Rosha Dainyodveg Arti Utkantha Santosha. He relished the symptoms of various transcendental emotions such as jubilation, lamentation, anger, humility, anxiety, grief, eagerness, and satisfaction. Jubilation is harsh, shok is lamentation, rosh is anger, then is humility, udveg is anxiety, arati is grief, utkantha, more eagerness, and santosh, satisfaction. These are English to Bengali. Or Bengali to English translations. Verse 6. Say bhave nich shlok padiya shloker artha aswade dui bandhu lena. He would recite his own verses expressing their meanings and emotions and thus enjoy tasting them with these two friends. Verse 7. Kon dine kon bhave shloka patana say shloka aswadite ratri jagrana. Sometimes the Lord would be absorbed in a particular emotion and would stay awake all night reciting related verses and relishing their taste. Verse 8. Harshe Prabhu kahena shuna swarup Ram Rai Nam Sankirtan Kalau Param Upay. In great jubilation, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, My dear Swarup Damodar and Ramananda Rai, know from me that chanting of the holy names is the most feasible means of salvation in this age of Kali. Verse 9. Sankirtana Yagye Kalau Krishna Aradhana Say Ta Sumedha Pai Krishnera Charana. In this age of Kali, the process of worshipping Krishna is to perform sacrifice by chanting the holy name of the Lord. One who does so is certainly very intelligent, and he attains shelter at the lotus feet of Krishna. Purport by Srila Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. For further information, one may refer to the Adi Lila of the Chaitanya Charitamrita, chapter 3, verses 77 and 78. Verse 10, Krishna Varnam Tvisha Krishnam Sango Pangastra Parshadam Yagneha Sankirtana Prayer Yajanti Hi Sumedhashaha. Upanga are the servitors. Yajanti, they worship. Yagne, by sacrifice. And Sankirtan Paraya is consisting chiefly of congregational chanting. Translation goes like this. In the age of Kali, intelligent persons perform congregational chanting to worship the incarnation of Godhead who constantly sings the name of Krishna. Although his complexion is not blackish, he is Krishna himself. He is accompanied by his associates, servants, weapons, and confidential companions. Purport: this verse is spoken by Saint Karabhajana in Srimad Bhagavatam, 11th canto, 5th chapter, verse 32. For further information, see Adi Lila of the Chaitanya Charitamrita, chapter 3, text 52. As you know, in the Adi Lila, there's Adi Lila, there's the Madhya and the Anta Lila, which is now we're trying to conclude. So Chaitanya Charitamrita is divided into 3 parts. The start, the middle, and the last Leelas of Mahaprabhu when he appeared 500 years ago in Navadvip, Nadia Mayapur. Verse 11, Nama Sankirtana Haite Sarvanartha Nash Sarva Subhodaya Krishna Premera Ullas. Simply by chanting the holy name of Lord Krishna, one can be freed from all undesirable habits. This is the meaning of awakening all good fortune and initiating the flow of waves of love for Krishna. Verse 12, Cheto Darpana Marjanam. Now here we start the Śikṣāṣṭaka prayers. This is the first verse. They were all composed by Mahaprabhu, and Mahaprabhu is singing them and discussing their meanings. And we shouldn't forget that Mahaprabhu is Krishna himself, who has come in the mood of Srimati Radharani, his biggest devotee, the highest of the devotees. And because he's come in that mood, that's why he's got the golden color, and he's called the Golden Avatar or the Gauranga Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So the first verse of the Śikṣāṣṭaka starts from verse number 12 of the Śikṣāṣṭaka prayers of the chapter 20 of Antilila. Cheto darpana marjanam bhava mahadavagni nirvapanam shreya kairava chandrika vitaranam vidyavadhu jivanam anandam buddhi vardhanam pratipadam purnamrita swadanam sarvatma snapanam param vijayate Shri Krishna Sankirtanam. Let there be all victory for the chanting of the holy name of Lord Krishna, which can cleanse the mirror of the heart and stop the miseries of the blazing fire of material existence. That chanting is the waxing moon that spreads the fire of material. Let's begin it again. Let there be all victory for the chanting of the holy name of Lord Krishna, which can cleanse the mirror of the heart and stop the miseries of the blazing fire of material existence. That chanting is the waxing moon that spreads the white lotus of good fortune for all living entities. It is the life and soul of all education. The chanting of the holy name of Krishna expands the blissful ocean of transcendental life. It gives a cooling effect to everyone and enables one to taste full nectar at every step. Waxing moon is the one when the moon is increasing in size, when it's slowly going to become a full moon. From a crescent to full, that stage of moon is called waxing moon. Purport by Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. This is the first verse of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's Śikṣāṣṭaka, or the 8 verses. The other 7 verses are found in texts 16, 21, 29, 32, 36, 39 and 37 of this chapter. So chapter 7 covers all the Śikṣāṣṭaka prayers. We have verse number 20, 16, so we have 16. This verse was verse number 12. Then this verse 16, verse 21, verse 29, 32, 36 and 39 and 47. These verses in this chapter, they cover the Śikṣāṣṭaka prayers. Verse 13, Sankirtana haite papas samsara nashana chitta shuddhi sarva bhakti sadhana udgama. By performing congregational chanting of the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, one can destroy the sinful condition of material existence, purify the unclean heart, and awaken all varieties of devotional service. Verse 14, Krishna Premodgama Premamrita Aswadana Krishna Prapti Sevamrita Samudre Majjana. Majjana is immersing. The resulting of chanting is that one awakens his love for Krishna and tastes transcendental bliss. Ultimately, one attains the association of Krishna and engages in his devotional service as if immersing himself in a great ocean of love. So this was verse 14. Moving on to verse 15. Uthila Vishada Dainya Pade Apana Shloka Yahar Arth Shuni Sab Yaye Dukha Shoka. Lamentation and humility awoke within Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and he began reciting another of his own verses. By hearing the meaning of that verse, one can forget all unhappiness and lamentation. So this is the second verse of Śikṣāṣṭaka, which is verse number 16 in this chapter number 20 of Antarila. Nam namakari bahudha nij sarva shakti statrar pita niyamitah smarane nakalaha etadrishi tav kripa bhagwan mamapi durdevam idrisham ihajani nanuragaha. My Lord, O Supreme Personality of Godhead, in your holy name there is all good fortune for the living entity, and therefore you have many names such as Krishna and Govinda by which you expand yourself. You have invested all your potencies in these names, and there are no hard and fast rules for remembering them. My dear Lord, although you bestow such mercy upon the fallen conditioned souls by liberally teaching your holy names, I am so unfortunate that I commit offenses while chanting the holy name, and therefore I do not achieve attachment to for chanting. Verse 17. Anek lokera vancha anek prakar kripate karila anek namer prachar. Vancha is the desires. Because people vary in their desires, you have distributed various holy names by your mercy. Verse 18. Khaite shuite yatha tatha namalaya kala desha niyam nahi sarva siddhi haya. Regardless of time or place, one who chants the holy name even while eating or sleeping attains all perfection. This was verse 18. Verse 19. Sarva shakti name dila kariya vibhag amara durdeva name nahi anurag. You have invested your full potencies in each individual holy name, but I am so unfortunate that I have no attachment for chanting your holy names. Verse 20. Ye rupe laile nam prema upajaya tahar lakshana shuna praswarup dam ramaraya. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu continued, O Swarup Damodar Goswami and Ramanandarai, hear from me the symptoms of how one should chant the Hare Krishna Mahamantra to awaken very easily one's dormant love for Krishna. Verse 20. This is the third verse of Śikṣāṣṭaka. Trinadapi sune chena tarur iva sahishnuna amani na manadena kirtaniya sada hari. One who thinks himself lower than the grass, who is more tolerant than a tree, and who does not expect good personal honor but is always prepared to give all respect to others, can very easily always chant the holy name of the Lord. Verse 22. Uttam hena apanake mane trinadhama dui prakare sahishnuta kare vriksha sama. These are the symptoms of one who chants the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. Although he is very exalted, he thinks himself lower than the grass on the ground, and like a tree, he tolerates everything in two ways. This is verse 22. Now verse 23. vrikshayena katileha kichu na bolaya, shukana meleha kare pani na magaya. When a tree is cut down, it does not protest, and even when drying up, it does not ask anyone for water. Verse 24. Ye ye magiye tare deye apana dhana, gharma vrishti sahe anera karaye rakshana. Gharma vrishti is the scorching heat of the sun and torrents of rain. The tree delivers its fruits, flowers, and whatever it possesses to anyone and everyone. It tolerates scorching heat and torrents of rain, yet it still gives shelter to others. Verse 25. Uttamahena Vaishnava Habe Nirabhimana Jive Sammana Dive Jani Krishna Adhishtham. Although Vaishnava is the most exalted person, he is prideless and gives all respects to everyone, knowing everyone to be the resting place of Krishna. Because Krishna resides as the localized Paramatma, Antaryami or super soul, in each and every living entity's heart. So that's why Vaishnava gives all respects to everyone. Verse 26. Verse number 26, yeah. Emata hena ye Krishna namalaya Shri Krishna charane tandra prema upajaya. If one chants the holy name of Krishna in this manner, he will certainly awaken his dormant love for Krishna's lotus feet. Verse 27. Kahite kahite prabhura danya badila shuddha bhakti Krishna thani magite lagila. As Lord Chaitanya spoke in this way, his humility increased and he began praying to Krishna that he could discharge pure devotional service. Verse 28. Premera swabhava yaha preme hera sambandha sei mane Krishne mor nahi prema gandha. Wherever there is a relationship of love of Godhead, its natural symptom is that the devotee does not think himself a devotee. Instead, he always thinks that he has not even a drop of love for Krishna. Purport Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur comments that persons who are actually very poor because they possess not even a drop of love for Godhead or pure devotional service falsely advertise themselves as great devotees, although they cannot at any time relish the transcendental bliss of devotional service. A class of so-called devotees known as Prakrita Sahajiyas sometimes display devotional symptoms to exhibit their good fortune. They are pretending, however, because these devotional features are only external. The Prakrit Sahajiyas exhibit these symptoms to advertise their so-called advancement in love of Krishna, but instead of praising the Prakrit Sahajiyas for the symptoms of transcendental ecstasy, pure devotees do not like to associate with them. It is not advisable to equate the Prakrit Sahajiyas with pure devotees. When one is actually advanced in ecstatic love of Krishna, he does not try to advertise himself. Instead, he endeavors more and more to render service to the Lord. The Prakrit Sahajiyas sometimes criticize pure devotees by calling them philosophers, learned scholars, knowers of the truth, or minute observers, but not devotees. On the other hand, they depict themselves as the most advanced, transcendently blissful devotees, deeply absorbed in devotional service, and mad to taste transcendental mellows. They also describe themselves as the most advanced devotees in spontaneous love, as knowers of transcendental mellows, as the topmost devotees in conjugal love of Krishna, and so on. Not actually knowing the transcendental nature of love of God, they accept their material emotions to be indicative of advancement. In this way, they pollute the process of devotional service. To try to become writers of Vaishnava literatures, they introduce their material conceptions of life into pure devotional service. So they're saying that to try to become writers of Vaishnava literature, the Prakrit Sahajiyas, they introduce their material conceptions of life into pure devotional service because of their material conceptions. They advertise themselves as flowers, knowers of transcendental mellows, but they do not understand the transformational the transcendental nature of devotional service. Verse 29. This is the fourth verse of Śikṣāṣṭaka. Fifth verse of the Śikṣāṣṭaka. Na dhanam na janam na sundarim kavitam va jagadish kamaye mama janmani janmanishware bhavatad bhaktir ahetu ki tvaye. O Lord of the universe, I do not desire material wealth, but materialistic followers, a beautiful wife, or fruitive activities described in flowery language. All I want, life after life, is unmotivated devotional service to you. This is Ahituki with no motives. Verse 30. Dhan jan nahi mago kavita sundari shuddha bhakti deha more Krishna kripa kari. My dear Lord Krishna, I do not want material wealth from you, nor do I want followers, a beautiful wife, or the results of fruitive activities. I only pray that by your causeless mercy, you give me pure devotional service to you life after life. Verse 31. Ati dainya punaha mage dasya bhakti dana apanare kare samsari jeev abhiman. In great humility, considering himself a conditioned soul of the material world, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu again expressed his desire to be endowed with service to the Lord. Verse 32. Ainanda chatanuja kinkaram patitam mam vishame bhavam budho kripaya tava pada pankaja sthita dhuli sadrisham vichintaya. So this is the sixth verse of the Śikṣāṣṭaka. O my Lord, O Krishna, son of Maharaj Nanda, I am your eternal servitor, but because of my own fruitive acts, I have fallen in this horrible ocean of nations. Now please be causelessly merciful to me. Consider me a particle of dust at your lotus feet. Verse 33. Tomar nitya das mui toma pasariya padiyachona bhavar nave maya baddha hena. I am your eternal servant, but I forgot your lordship. Now I have fallen into the ocean of nations and have been conditioned by the external energy, that is the material energy. Verse 34. Kripa kari kar mora pad dhuli sama tomar sevaka karun tomar sevana. This is verse 34. Be causelessly merciful to me by giving me a place with the particles of dust at your lotus feet, so that I may engage in the service of your lordships as your eternal servant. Verse 35. Punah ati utkantha denya haila udgama Krishna thani magye prema nama sankirtana. Long. Be causelessly merciful to me by giving me a place with the particles of dust at your lotus feet, so that I may engage in the service of your lordships as your eternal servants. Verse 35. Punah ati utkanta denya haila udgama Krishna thani magye prema nama sankirtana. Natural humility and eagerness then awoke in the Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He prayed to Krishna to be able to chant the Mahamantra in ecstatic love. Verse 36. Is verse number 6. Nainam galad ashru dharaya vadanam gadgadarudhaya gira pulakir nichitam vapu kada tavanam grahane bhavishyati. My dear Lord, when will my eyes be beautiful by filling with tears that constantly glide down This is the 7th verse of the Śikṣāṣṭaka. As I chant your holy name, when will my voice falter and all the hairs on my body stand erect in transcendental happiness? As I chant your holy name. So, how beautiful it is. Krishna has come as Golden Avatar is asking from Krishna that when I'm going to be able to chant in such blissful state your names, Krishna. Verse 37, Prema dhana vina vyartha daridra jivana dasa kari vetana more deha prema dhana. This is verse 37. Without love of Godhead, my life is useless. Therefore, I pray that you accept me as your servant and give me the salary of ecstatic love of Godhead. Verse 38. Rasan taraveshe haila viyoga spurna udvega vishada danya kari pralam. Verse 38, translation, Kare Pralapana is speaking like a crazy person. Separation from Krishna awoke various mellows of distress, lamentation, and humility. Thus Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu spoke like a crazy man. Verse 39, Yugaitam nimeshena chakshusha pravrishaitam shunyayat itam jagat sarvam Govinda virahane me. So this is 7th verse. Let's say it again. Yugaitam nimeshena chakshusha pravrishaitam shunyaitam jagat sarvam Govinda virahane me. Virahena me. My Lord Govinda, because of separation from you, I consider even a moment of great millennium. Tears flow from my eyes, even like torrents of rain, and I see the entire world as Virahane me means by my separation. My Lord Govinda, because of separation from you, I consider even a moment of great millennium. Tears flow from my eyes like torrents of rain and see the entire world as God. Repeat that. My Lord Govinda, because of separation from you, I consider even a moment of a great millennium. Tears flow from my eyes like torrents of rain and I see the entire world a void. Verse 40. Udvege devasa nayaya Krishna haila yugasama varshar megha praya ashru seva ashru varishe nayana. In my agitation, a day never ends. For a moment seems like a millennium. Pouring the incessant tears, my eyes are like clouds in the rainy season. Verse 41. Govinda virahe shunaya haila tribhuvana tushande pore yena nayaya jivana. The three worlds have become void because of separation from Govinda. I feel as if I were burning. Verse 41, Govinda virahe shunya haila tribhuvana tushanale pore yena na yaya jivana. The three worlds have become void because of this separation from Godhead. I feel as if I were just burning alive in slow fire. Verse 42, Krishna udasin haila karinete parikshana sakhi sab kahe Krishna kare upekshana. This is verse 42. The translation is, Lord Krishna has become indifferent to me just to test my love, and my friends say, better to disregard him. Verse 43. Eteka chintite radhar nirmala hridaya. Lord Krishna has become indifferent to me just to test my love. My friends say, better to disregard him. Verse 43. Eteka chintite radhar nirmala hridaya. एतेक चिंतिते राधार निर्मल हृदय स्वाभाविक प्रेमार स्वभाव करला उदय. While Srimati Radharani was thinking in this way, this was 43, the characteristics of natural love became manifest because of her pure heart. Verse 44, Tiya Utkanta while Srimati Radharani was thinking this way, the characteristics of natural love became manifest because of their pure heart. The characteristics of pure natural love becomes manifest because of her pure heart. So, Srimati Radharani's verse 44, Irshya Utkantha Danya Pradhi Vinaya Itabhav Ekathani Kanya Udaya. The ecstatic symptoms of any great any great eagerness, humility, zeal, and supplication. The ecstatic symptoms of love, of envy, great eagerness, humility, zeal, and supplication all became manifest at once. Verse 44, Eta bhave radhara mana astira ya. Eta bhave radhara mana astira haila sakhi gana age prodi. Shloke Padar, verse 44. In that mood, the mind of Srimati Radharani was agitated, and therefore she spoke the verse of advanced devotion to her gopi friends. Now, verse 46. Earlier we just finished verse 45. Se bhave prabhu se shloka ucharila. In that mood, the mind of Srimati Radharani was agitated, and therefore she spoke a verse of advanced devotion to her gopi friends. Verse 56. Se bhave prabhu se shloka ucharila. Shloka ucharanite tad bhakti ucharite tad rupa apne haira. In the same spirit of ecstasy, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu recited that verse, and as soon as did hear, fell to the ground. Verse 46. Se bhave prabhu se shloka ucharila shloke ucharite tadrupa asfane. Right. In the same spirit of ecstasy, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu recited that verse. As soon as he did so, he felt like Srimati Radharani. Verse 47 of the last chapter of Antilila Charitamrita, chapter number 20. This is also from Ashlishya va padaratam pinashtumam adrashi Shanan marmabhatam karotu va yathartha va viddatau lampatu matvanes yatatha Ashli. I will read it again. Ashlishya va padratam pinashtu mam adrishan nana marmahatam karotu va yatha tatha va vidadhatu lampatu matprananathastus sa eva na paraha. Let Krishna tightly embrace this maid servant who has fallen at his lotus feet. Let him trample me or break my heart by never being visible to me. He is a debauchee after all and can do whatever he likes, but he is still no one other than the worshipable Lord of my heart. Lampata is a debauchee. Ashlishya embracing. Padaratam, who is fallen at the lotus feet. Verse number 40. So this was the last verse of the Śikṣāṣṭaka, the 8 verses which Mahaprabhu left with us, because Mahaprabhu, and these beautiful verses are worth reading every morning. Verse 48. Ami Krishna pad dasi tenho rasa sukha rashi alingiya kare atmastha साथ कीबा न देया दर्शन जारे न मोर तनु मन तबो तेन्हो मोर prananath. This is verse 48. I am a maidservant of the lotus feet of Krishna. He is the embodiment of the transcendental happiness and mellows. If he likes, he can embrace me and make me feel oneness with him, or by not giving me his audience, he may corrode my mind and body. Nevertheless, it is he who is the Lord of my life. Verse 49. Sakhi he shuna mora manera nishchaya kiba anurag kare kiba dukh diya mare mora prana Eshwara Krishna anya naya. My dear friend, just hear the decision of my mind. Krishna is the Lord of my life in all conditions, whether he shows me affection or kills me by giving the unhappiness. Verse 50. Chadi anya nari gana mora vasha tanu mana mora saubhagya prakat kariya ta sabare deya pida ama sane kare krida. No. Say nari gane dekhna. This is verse 50. Sometimes Krishna gives up the company for the gopis and becomes controlled mind and body by me. Thus he manifests my good fortune and gives others distress by performing his loving affairs with me. Verse 51. Kiba tenho lampata saath drishta sakapat anya nari gana kari saath more dite mana pida more aage kari krida tabo tenho maro more tabo tenho more prananath. This is 51 verse. Or since after all he is very cunning, obstinate, debauchee with the propensity to cheat, he takes to the company of all the other women. He then indulges in loving affairs with them in front of me to give distress to mine. Nevertheless, he is still the Lord of my life. Verse 52. Na gani apan dukha sabe vanchi tanra sukha amar तात्पर्य मोरे यदि दिया दुख तांद्र हैला महासुख सै दुख मोर सुख वरेया. I do not mind my personal distress. I only wish for the happiness of Krishna, for His happiness is the goal of my life. However, if he feels great happiness in giving me distress, that distress is the best of my happiness. Srila Prabhupada, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur says that a devotee does not care for his own happiness and distress. He is simply interested in seeing that Krishna is happy, and for the purpose of he engages in various activities. A pure devotee has no way of sensing happiness except by seeing that Krishna is happy in every respect. Right. A pure devotee has no way of sensing happiness except by seeing that Krishna is happy in every respect. If Krishna becomes happy by giving him distress, such a devotee accepts that unhappiness became happy by giving him distress, except by seeing that Krishna is happy in every respect. If Krishna becomes happy by giving him distress, such a devotee accepts that unhappiness as the greatest of all happiness. Those who are materialistic, however, who are very proud of material wealth and have no spiritual knowledge, like the Prakrit Sahajas, regard their own happiness as regard their own happiness as the aim of life. Some of them aspire to enjoy themselves by sharing the happiness of Krishna. This is the mentality of fruitive workers who want to enjoy sense gratification by making the show of Krishna's devices. Verse 53. Ye narire vancha Krishna tara roop satrishna tare na pana hai dukhi. This is those who are very materialistic, however, who are proud of material. I'll read the purport again. I'll have to edit it in the recording later. Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur says that a devotee does not care about his own happiness and distress. He is simply interested in seeing that Krishna is happy, and for that purpose he engages in various activities. A pure devotee has no way of sensing happiness except by seeing that Krishna is happy in every respect. If Krishna becomes happy by giving him distress, such a devotee accepts that unhappiness as the greatest of all happiness. Those who are materialistic, however, who are very proud of Krishna becomes happy by giving distress. Such a devotee accepts that unhappiness as the greatest of all happiness. Those who are materialistic, however, who are very proud of material wealth and have no spiritual knowledge, like the Prakrit Sahajas, regard their own happiness as the aim of life. Some of them aspire to enjoy themselves by sharing the happiness of Krishna. This is the mentality of fruitive workers who want to enjoy sense gratification by making a show of service to Krishna. Verse 53. Ye narire vanche Krishna tar rupe satrishna tare na pana hai dukhi mui tar paye padi lena yan hate dhari krida karana tanre karo sukhi. If Krishna, attracted by the beauty of some of the other woman, wants to enjoy with her but is unhappy because he cannot get her, I fall down at her feet, catch her hand, and bring her to Krishna to engage her for his happiness. verse 54. Kanta Krishna kare rosha, Krishna paya santosha, Sukha paya tadana bhatsane, Yatha yogya kare mana, Krishna tate sukha pana, Chade mana alpa sadhane. When a beloved gopi shows us symptoms of anger towards Krishna, Krishna is very satisfied. Indeed, he is pleased when chastised by such a gopi. She shows her pride. She shows her pride suitably, and Krishna enjoys that attitude. Then she gives up her pride with a little endeavor. That was verse 54. Now verse 55. Say nari jiye kene Krishna marma vyatha jane, tabu Krishna kare gadha rosh, nij sukhe mane kaj. Paduka tar shire vaj, Krishner matra chahiye santosh. Paduka, let their fall. Why does a woman continue to live who knows that Krishna's heart is unhappy but who still shows her deep anger toward him? She is interested in her own happiness. I condemn such a woman to be struck on the head with a thunderbolt, for we simply want the happiness of Krishna. Purport: a devotee who is satisfied only with his own sense gratification certainly falls down from the service of Krishna. Being attracted by material happiness, he later joins the Prakrit Sahajyas, who are considered to be non-devotees. Verse 56. Ye gopi mor kare dveshe, dveshe Krishnera kare santoshe, Krishna yare kare abhilash, mui tar ghare yana, tare sevon dasi hena, tabe mor sukher ullas. If a gopi envious of me satisfies Krishna and Krishna desires her, I shall not hesitate to go to her house and become her maidservant, for then my happiness will be awakened. This is verse 56. Verse 57 now. Pushti viprera ramani, pati vrata shiromani, pati lagi kaila, veshyara seva, stambhila suryera gati, jiyaila mritapati, tushta kaila mukhya teen deva. The wife of a Brahmin suffering from leprosy manifested herself as the topmost of all chaste women by serving a prostitute to satisfy her husband. She thus stopped the movement of the sun, brought her dead husband back to life, and satisfied the three principal demigods Brahma, Vishnu, and Maheshwar. Purport: the Aditya Puran, Markandeya Puran, and Pan Puran tell about a Brahmana who was suffering from leprosy but had a very chaste and faithful wife. He desired to enjoy the company of a prostitute, and therefore his wife went to her and became her maidservant just to draw her attention for his service. When the prostitute agreed to associate with him, the wife brought her leprotic husband. When that leper, the sinful son of a Brahmana, saw the chastity of his wife, he finally abandoned his sinful intentions. While coming home, however, he touched the body of Markandeya Rishi, who thus cursed him to die at sunrise because of her chastity. The woman was very powerful, therefore, when she heard about that curse, she vowed to stop the sunrise because of her strong determination to serve her husband. The three deities, namely Brahma, Vishnu, and Maheshwar, were very happy, and they gave her the benediction that her husband would be cured and brought back to life. This example is given herein to emphasize that a devotee should engage himself exclusively for the satisfaction of Krishna without personal motives that will make his life successful. Moving to verse number 58 now. Krishna mora jivana, Krishna mora pranadhana, Krishna mora pranera parana, hridaya upare dharon, seva kari sukhi karon, e mora sada rahe dhyan. Krishna is my life and soul. Krishna is the treasure of my life. Indeed, Krishna is the very life of my life. I therefore keep him always in my heart and try to please him by rendering service. That is my constant meditation. Verse 59. Mora sukha sevane, Krishnera sukha sangame, ataiva deha dena dana, Krishna mora kanta kari, kahe mora praneshwari, mora hayak dasi abhimana. My happiness is in the service of Krishna, and Krishna's happiness is in union with me. For this reason, I give my body in charity to the lotus feet of Krishna, who accepts me as his loved one and calls me his most beloved, it is then that I consider myself his maidservant. Verse 60, Kanta seva sukha pura sangama haite samudhara sumadhura tate sakshi lakshmi thakurani narayana riddhi sthiti tabu pada sevaya mati seva kare dasi abhimani. Service to my lover is the home of happiness and is more sweet than direct union with him. The goddess of fortune is evidence of this, for although she constantly lives on the heart of Narayan, she wants to render service to his lotus feet. She therefore considers herself a maidservant and serves him constantly. Verse 61, E Radhar Vachana Vishuddha Prema Lakshana Aswaday Shri Gaura Rai Bhave Mane Mana Nahe Sthira Satvike Vyape Sharira Manadeha Dharana Na Yai. These statements by Srimati Radharani show the symptoms of pure love for Krishna tasted by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. In that ecstatic love, his mind was unsteady. Transformations of transcendental love spread throughout his entire body, and he could not sustain his body and mind. Verse 62, Vrajera Vishuddha Prema Yena Jambu Nada Hema Atma Sukhera Yahan Nahi Gandha Se Prema Janate Loke Prabhu Kaila Eishloke Pade Kaila Arthera Nirbandha. The pure devotional service in Vrindavan is like the golden particles in the river Jambu. In Vrindavan, there is not a trace of personal sense gratification. It is to advertise such pure love in this material world that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has written the previous verse and explained its meaning. This was verse 62, moving to verse 63 now. E Mata Mahaprabhu Bhava Vishtahena Pralapa Karila Tat Tat Shloka Padiya. Thus overwhelmed by ecstatic love, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu spoke like a madman and recited suitable verses. Verse 64, Purve Ashta Shloka Kari Loke Shiksha Dila Say Ashta Shlokera Artha Apane Aswadila. The Lord had formerly composed these 8 verses to teach people in general. Now he personally tasted the meaning of the verses which are called the Śikṣāṣṭaka. Verse 65, Prabhura Śikṣāṣṭaka Shloka Ye Pade Shune Krishne Prema Bhakti Tara Bade Dine Dine. If anyone recites or hears these 8 verses of instructions by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, his ecstatic love and devotion for Krishna increases day by day. Verse 66, Yadyapiha Prabhu Koti Samudra Gambhira Nana Bhava Chandroday Haina Asthira. Although Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is as deep and grave as millions of oceans, when the moon of his various emotions rises, he becomes restless. Verse 68, 67 and 68, they are both together. Ye ye shloka Jayadeva Bhagavate Rayera Natake ye ar Karnamrite se bhave shloka kariya patane se bhavaveshe karena aswadane. When Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu read the verses of Jayadev's Geet Govind of Srimad Bhagavatam of Ramanan, Rai's drama Jagannath Vallabh Natak, and of Vilu Mangal Thakur's Krishna Karnamrita, he was overwhelmed by the various ecstatic emotions of those verses. Thus he tasted their purports. Verse 69, Dwadash Vatsara Aiche Dasha Ratri Dine Krishna Rasa Aswade Dvi Bandhu Sane. For 12 years, Sri Chaitanya remained in that state of day and night with his 2 friends, Swarup Damodar and Ramananda Rai. He tasted the meaning of those verses, which consists of nothing but the transcendental bliss and mellows of Krishna consciousness. So for 12 years, Mahaprabhu read the verses of Jayadev's Geet Govinda, Srimad Bhagavatam, and of Ramananda Rai's drama Jagannath Vallabh and Vilu Mangal Thakur's Krishna Karnamrita with both Swarup Damodar and Ramananda Rai. And his emotional state used to become that of a madman when he used to go through these verses, and like this verse 69 says that this consisted of nothing but the transcendental bliss and mellows of Krishna consciousness. Verse 70, Say sab lila rasa apne ananta sahasra vadane varni nahi pan anta. Even Anantadev, who has thousands of faces, could not reach the end of describing the transcendental bliss of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's pastimes. Verse 71, Jiva Kshudra Buddhi Kaun Taha Pare Varnite Tar Ek Kana Sparshi Apana Shodhite. How then could an ordinary living being with a very little intelligence describe such pastimes? Nevertheless, I am trying to touch but a particle of them just to rectify my own self. Verse 72, Yata Cheshta Yata Pralap Nahi Para Var Say Saba Varnite Grantha Haye Suvistar. Paravar, there is no limit. That is same as Hindi word. There is no limit to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's activities and his words of madness. Therefore, describing them all would greatly increase the size of this book. Krishna's Kaviraj Goswami is saying, verse 73, Vrindavan Das Pratham Ye Lila Varnila Say Sab Lilar Ami Sutra Matra Kaila. Whatever pastime Srila Vrindavan Das Thakur has first described, I have merely summarized. Verse 74, Tandra Tyakta Avashesha Sankshepe Kahila Lilara Bahulya Grantha Tathapi Badila. I have only very briefly described the pastimes of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, not described by Vrindavan Das Thakur. Nevertheless, because those transcendental pastimes are so numerous, the size of this book has increased. Verse 75, Ataiv se saba lila na pari varni bare samapti karilun lila ke kari namaskare. It is impossible to describe all the pastimes elaborately. I shall therefore end this description and offer my respectful obeisances. Verse 76, Ye kichu kahilun e digdarshana e anusare habe tar aswadana. What I have described gives merely an indication, but by following this indication one may obtain a taste of all the pastimes of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Verse 77, Prabhura Gambhira Leela na pari bujite buddhi pravesh nahi tate na pari varnite. I cannot understand the very deep meaningful pastimes of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. My intelligence cannot penetrate them, and therefore I could not properly describe them. This is verse 77. Verse 78, Sabashrota Vaishnavera Vandiya Charana Chaitanya Charitra Varnan Kailun Samapana. After offering my respectful obeisances to the lotus feet of all my Vaishnav readers, I shall therefore end this description of the characteristics of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Verse 79, Akash Ananta Tate Yaiche Pakshi Gana Yara Yata Shakti Tata Kare Arohana. Arohana rises up and up. The sky is unlimited, but many birds fly higher and higher according to their own abilities. Verse 80, Aiche Mahaprabhur Leela Nahi Or Par Jeev Hena Kiba Samyak Pare Varnipar. The pastimes of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu are like the unlimited sky. How then can an ordinary living being describe them all? Verse 81, Yavat Buddhir Gati Tatek Varnilun Samudrer Madhye Yen Ek Kana Chunilun. Yavat is as far. I have tried to describe them as far as my intelligence allows, as if trying to touch a drop in the midst of a great ocean. Verse 82. Nityananda Kripa Patra Vrindavana Das Chaitanya Lilai Tenho Haina Adi Vyas. Vrindavandas Thakur is Lord Nityananda's favorite devotee, and therefore he is the original Vyasadeva in describing the pastimes of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Purport Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur says that all writers after Vrindavan Das Thakur who are pure devotees of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and who have tried to describe the Lord's activities are to be considered like Vyas. Srila Vrindavan Das Thakur is the original Vyasadeva in describing Chaitanya Leela, and all others who follow in his footsteps by describing Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's pastimes are also to be called Vyasadeva. The bona fide spiritual master is called Vyas because he is a representative of Vyas. Worshipping the birthday of such a spiritual master is called Vyas Puja. Verse 83. Tandra age yadyapi sabha lilara bhandara tathapi alpa varniya chadilena ara. Ara, the others. Although Vrindavandas Thakur has within his jurisdiction the full store of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's pastimes, he has left aside most of them and described but a small portion. Verse 84. Ye kichu varnilun sehe sankshep kariya likhite na parena tabu rakhiya chena likhiya. What I have described was left aside by Vrindavandas Thakur, but although he could not describe these pastimes, he gave us a synopsis. Verse 85. Chaitanya Mangale Tenho Likhiyache Sthane Sthane Say Vachana Shuna Say Parama Pramane. In his book named Chaitanya Mangal, that is the Chaitanya Bhagavat, he has described these pastimes in many places. I request my readers to hear that book, for that is the best evidence. Verse 86. Sankshepe kahilun vistar na vaye kathane vistariya ved vyas kariba varnane. I have described the pastimes very briefly, for it is impossible for me to describe them in full. In the future, however, Ved Vyas will describe them elaborately. Verse 87. Chaitanya Mangale iha likhiyache sthane sthane satya kahena age Vyas kariba varnane. In Chaitanya Mangal, Srila Vrindavan Das Thakur has stated in many places the factual truth that in future Vyasadeva will describe them elaborately. Purport: the statement Age Vyas Kariba Varnane is similar to a text in the Chaitanya Bhagavat, 1st chapter, verse 180, in which Vrindavan Das Thakur says, Shesha Khande Chaitanyera Ananta Vilas Vistariya Varnite Achena Veda Vyas. The unlimited pastimes of Sri Chaitanya will be described by Vyasadeva in the future. Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur says that these statements indicate that in the future other representatives of Vyasadeva will elaborately describe Lord Chaitanya's pastimes. The purport is that any pure devotee in the disciplic succession who describes the pastimes of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is confirmed to be a representative of Vyasadeva. Verse 88. Chaitanya Lilamrit Sindhu Dugdabdhi Saman Krishna Nurup Jhari Bhari Tenho Kaila Pan. The ocean of nectarian pastimes of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is like the ocean of milk. According to his thirst, Vrindavan Das Thakur filled his pitcher and drank from that ocean. Verse 89. Tanra Jhari Sheshamrit Kichu Mora Dila Tateke Bharila Pet Krishna Mora Gela. Whatever remnants of milk Vrindavan Das Thakur has given me are sufficient to fill my belly. Now my thirst is completely satiated. This is verse 89, verses 90 and 91. Amiyati Kshudra Jiva Pakshi Ranga Tuni Se Yaiche Trishnai Piye Samudrera Pani Taiche Ami Ek Kana Chunilun Nililar E Drishtante Janiha Prabhura Lilar Vistar. I am a very insignificant living being, like a small red-beaked bird. Just as such bird drinks the water of the sea to quench its thirst, so I have touched only a drop of the ocean of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's pastimes. From this example, you may all understand how expansive are the pastimes of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Verse 92. Ami likhi eha mithya kari anuman, amar sharir kashtha putli saman. Translation of verse 92. I infer that I have written is a false understanding, for my body is like a wooden doll. Kashtaputli. Verse 93. Vriddha jaratur ami andha badhira hastahale manobuddhi nahe mor sthira. I am old and troubled by invalidity. I am almost blind and deaf. My hands tremble and my mind and intelligence are unsteady. Krishnadas Kaviraj Thakur is saying, verse 94, Nana roga grasta chalite vasite napari panch roga pida vyakul ratri dine mari. I'm infected by so many diseases that I can neither properly walk nor properly sit. Indeed, I am always exhausted by 5 kinds of disease. I may die at any time of the day or night. Verse 95. Purve granthe iha kariyachi nivedana tathapi likhiye shuna ihar karana. I have previously given an account of my inabilities. Please hear the reason that why I nevertheless still write. Verses 96 to 98. Shri Govinda, Shri Chaitanya, Shri Nityananda, Shri Advaita, Shri Bhakta, Ar Shri Shrotri Vrinda, Shri Sarupa, Shri Rupa, Shri Sanatana, Shri Raghunatha Das, Shri Guru, Shri Jiva Charana, Inha Sabar Charana Kripaya Lekhaya Amare, Ar Ek Haya Tenho Ati Kripa Kare. I'm writing this book by the mercy of the lotus feet of Shri Govinda Dev, Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Lord Nityananda, Advaita Acharya, other devotees, and the readers of this book, as well as Sarup Damodar Goswami, Shri Rupa Goswami, Shri Sanatan Goswami, Shri Raghunath Das Goswami, who is my spiritual master, and Shri Jeev Goswami. I have also been specifically favored by another Supreme Personality. Verse 99, Shri Madan Gopal मोरे लेखाए आज्ञा करी कहते ना युयाए तबु रहते ना पारी. Yuyai is not befitting. Shri Madan Mohan deity of Vrindavan has given the order that is making me write. Although this should not be disclosed, I disclose it because I am unable to remain silent. So that is a pure devotee. They distribute the benediction they get to the whole world. Hari Bol. Verse number 100. Na kahile haya mor krita grinata dosha dambha kari bali shrota na kariha rosh. If I did not disclose this fact, I would be guilty of ingratitude to the Lord. Therefore, my dear readers, please do not consider me too proud and be angry at me. Now, this is the humility of Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami. And this is why Krishna did his lila, and we are reading this lila because Krishna is establishing us, and Prabhupada has so nicely translated everything for us, that how our life should be. Verses 101. Toma sabar charan dhuli karinu vandan tate chaitanya lila haila ye kichu likhana. It is because I have offered my prayers unto the lotus feet of all of you that whatever I have written about Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has been possible. Verse 102. Ebe ante lila ganer kari anuvad kaile pae lilar aswad. Now let me repeat all the pastimes of the Antilila, for if I do so, I shall taste the pastimes again. Verse 103. Prathama parichede ruper dvitiya milan tar madhye dui natakera vidhan shravana. The first chapter describes how Rupa Goswami met Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu for the second time, and how the Lord heard his two dramas, Vidgad Madhav and Lalit Madhav. Verse 104. Now we Krishna's Kaviraj Goswami is going to tell us from verses 104 of the 20th chapter the, of Antya Lila, the synopsis of the chapters. Of the Antya Lila. The chapter also describes the incident of Shivananda Sen's dog who was induced by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to chant the holy name of Krishna and was thus liberated. Verse 105. Dvitiya Chota Haridase Karaila Shikshana Tara Madhye Shivanandera Ascharya Darshana. In the second chapter, the Lord instructively punished Junior Haridas. Also in that chapter is the wonderful vision of Shivananda Sen. Verse 106. Tritiya Haridasera Mahima Prachanda Damodara Pandit Kaila Prabhure Vakya Dand. In the third chapter is a description of the forceful glories of Haridas Thakur. That chapter also mentions how Damodar Pandit spoke words of criticism to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Verse 107. Prabhu Nam Diya Kaila Brahmanda Mochana Haridas Karila Namera Mahima Sthapana. The third chapter also tells how Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu delivered everyone by bestowing upon the universe the holy name of the Lord, and it describes how Haridas Thakur established the glories of the holy name by his practical example. Verse 108. Chaturthe Shri Sanatanera Dvitiya Milana Deha Tyaga Haite Tandra Karila Rakshana. The fourth chapter describes Sanatan Goswami's second visit with Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and how the Lord saved him from committing suicide. Verse 109. Jaishtha Masera Dhupe Tandre Kaila Parikshana Shaktis Sanchariya Punaha Pathaila Vrindavana. The fourth chapter also tells us how Sanatan Goswami was tested in the sunshine of Jaishtha, that is May and June, and was then empowered and sent back to Vrindavan. Verse 110. Panchame Pradyumna Mishre Prabhu Kripa Karila Rai Dwara Krishna Katha Tandre Shanaila. In the fifth chapter, the Lord showed his favor to Pradyumna Mishra and made him hear topics of Krishna from Ramananda Rai. Verse 111. Tara Madhye Bangal Kavir Natak Upekshana Swarup Gosani Kaila Vigrahera Mahima Sthapana. Also in that chapter, Swarup Damodar Goswami rejected the drama of a poet from Bengal and established the glories of the deity. Now verse 112. Shashthe Raghunath Dasa Prabhure Milila Nityananda Agyaye Chida Mahotsav Kaila. The sixth chapter describes how Raghunath Das Goswami met Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and performed the Chip Rice festival in accordance with Nityananda Prabhu's order. Verse 113. Damodar Swarup Thani Tandre Samarpila Govardhan Shila Gunja Mala Tandre Dila. Gunja Mala is the garland of small conch shells. The Lord entrusted Raghunath Das Goswami to the care of Swarup Damodar Goswami and gave Raghunath Das the gift of a stone from Govardhan Hill and a garland of small conch shells. So Raghunath Das Goswami was given the gift of a shila from Govardhan and a garland of small conch shells. Verse 114. Saptam Parichede Vallabha Bhattera Milana Nana Mate Kaila Tandra Garve Khandan. The seventh chapter tells us how Chaitanya met Vallabh Bhatt and dismantled his false pride in various ways. Verse 115. Ashtame Ramchandra Purir Agamana Tandra Bhaye Kaila Prabhu Bhiksha Sankochana. The eighth chapter describes the arrival of Ramchandra Puri and how Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu minimized his eating due to fear of him. Verse 116. Navame Gopinath Pattanayaka Mochana Tri Jagatera Loka Prabhura Paila Darshana. In the ninth chapter is a description of how Gopinath Patnaik was delivered and how the people of the three worlds were able to see Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Verse 117. Dashame Kahilon Bhakta Datta Aswadana Raghav Panditera Tahan Jhalira Sajana. In the 10th chapter, I've described how Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu tasted the food given by his devotees, and I've also described the assortments in the bags of Raghav Pandit. Verse 118. tar madhye govindera kaila parikshana tar madhye parimunda nrityera varnana. Also in that chapter is a description of how the Lord examined Govinda and how he danced in the temple. Moving to verse 119. Ekadashe Haridas Thakurer Niryana Bhakta Vatsalya Yahan Dekhaila Gaur Bhagwan. Niryan is the disappearance of Srila Haridas Thakur. Haridas Thakurer Niryana, the disappearance of Haridas Thakur. The 11th chapter describes the disappearance of Haridas Thakur and how Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, showed his affection for his devotees. Verse 120. Dvadashe Jagadanandera Taila Bhanjana Nityananda Kaila Shivanandere Tadana. In the 12th chapter are descriptions of how Jagadanand Pandit broke a pot of oil and how Lord Nityananda chastised Shivananda Sena. Verse 121. Trayodashe Jagadananda Mathura Yai Aila Mahaprabhu Dev Dasira Geeta Shunila. In the 13th chapter, Jagadanand Pandit went to Mathura and returned, and Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu by chance heard a song sung by a Devadasi dancing girl. Verse 112. Raghunath Bhattacharya Tahani Milana Prabhu Tanre Kripa Kari Pathaila Vrindavana. Also in the 13th chapter, Raghunath Bhatt met Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who by his causeless mercy sent him to Vrindavan. Verse 123. Chaturdashe Divyun Mad Arambha Varnana Sharir Etha Prabhura Mana Gela Vrindavana. The 14th chapter describes the beginning of the Lord's spiritual trance in which his body was at Jagannath Puri but his mind was in Vrindavan. That was 123 verse. Verse 124. Tara Mathe Prabhura Simha Dware Patana Asthi Sandhi Tyag Anubhaver Udgama. Also in that chapter is the description of how Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu fell down in front of the Simhadwar gate of Jagannath Puri, Jagannath temple. In Jagannath Puri, we can say, his bones separated at the joints and how various transcendental symptoms awakened. Verse 125. Chataka Parvata Dekhi Prabhura Dhavana Tara Madhya Prabhura Kichu Pralapa Varnana. Also in that chapter, there is a description of how Chaitanya Mahaprabhu ran toward Chatak Parvat and spoke like a madman. Verse 126. Panchadasha Parichete Udyana Vilase Vrindavan Brahme Yahan Karila Praveshe. In the 15th chapter is a description of how Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu entered a garden on the shore of the sea, mistaking the garden for Vrindavan. Verse 127. Tara Madhye Prabhura Panchendriya Akarshana Tara Madhye Karila Rase Krishna Anveshana. Krishna Anveshana, searching for Krishna. Also in that chapter is a description of the attraction of Lord Chaitanya's 5 senses to Krishna and how he searched for Krishna in the rasa dance. Shodashe Kalidase Prabhu Kripa Karela Vaishnavo Chishta Khaibar Phala Dekhaila. This is verse 128. The 16th chapter tells us how Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu showed his mercy to Kalidas and thus demonstrated the result of eating the remnants of the food of Vaishnavas. Verse 129. Shivanandera Balake Shloka Karaila Simha Dware Dwari Prabhure Krishna Dekhaila. It also describes how Shivananda's son composed a verse and how the doorkeeper of the Simhadwar showed Krishna to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Verse 130. Mahaprasadera Tahan Mahima Varnila Krishna Dharma Mritera Phala Shloka Aswadila. Also in the chapter, the glories of Mahaprasad are explained and a verse is tasted describing the effect of nectar from the lips of Krishna. Verse 131. Saptadashe Gabhi Madhye Prabhura Patana Kurma Kar Anubhaver Tahani Uttama. In the 17th chapter, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu fell among the cows and assumed the form of a tortoise as his ecstatic emotions awakened. Verse 132. Krishnera Shabda Gune Prabhura Mana Akarshila Ka Sri Angate Shloker Artha Aveshe Kaila. Also in the 17th chapter, the attributes of Krishna's sound attracted the mind of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who described in ecstasy the meaning of the Kastri Angate verse 133. Bhava Shabalye Punah Kaila Pralapana Karnamrita Shlokera Artha Kaila Vivarnan. Due to the conjunction of various ecstatic emotions, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu again began speaking like a madman and described in detail the meaning of a verse from Krishna Karnamrita. This was verse 133. Verse 134. Ashta Dasha Parichede Samudre Patana Krishna Gopi Jala Keli Tahan Dasha. This is verse 134. Ashtadash Parichede, that means 18th chapter, the Lord fell into the ocean and in ecstasy he saw the pastimes of the water fight between Krishna and the gopis. Verse 135. Tahani Tekila Krishnera Vanya Bhojan Jaliya Thaila Prabhu Aila Swa Bhavana. In that time, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu saw Krishna's picnic in the forest. As Lord Chaitanya floated in the sea, a fisherman caught him and then the Lord returned to his own residence. Verse 136. Unvimshe Bhitye Prabhura Mukha Sangharshan Krishnera Viraha Spurti Pralapa Varnana. In the 19th chapter is a description of how Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu rubbed his face against the walls and spoke like a madman because of separation from Krishna. This is verse 138, moving to verse 130. That was verse 136. Now moving to verse 137. Vasanta Rajanite Pushpodhyane Viharana Krishnera Saurabhya Shlokera Artha Vivarana. Vivarana, same as Hindi, describing the meaning in Bengali. That chapter also describes Krishna's wandering in a garden on a spring night, and it fully describes the meaning of a verse about the scent of Krishna's body. Verse 138. Vimsha Parishede Nij Śikṣāṣṭaka Padiya Tar Artha Aswadila Premavishta Hena. In the 20th chapter, Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu recited his own 8 stanzas of instruction and tasted their meaning in ecstatic love. Verse 139. Bhakte Shikhaite Ye Śikṣāṣṭaka Kahila Se Shlokashtakera Artha Punah Aswadila. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu composed these 8 stanzas to instruct the devotees, but he also personally tasted their meaning. Verse 140. Mukhya Lilar Artha Karilun Kathana Anubad Haite Smare Grantha Vivarnam. I have thus described the principal pastimes and their meanings, for by such repetition one can remember the description in this book. I have described the principal pastimes and their meanings, for by such repetition one can remember the descriptions in the book. So how thoughtful of Krishna's Kaviraj Goswami. His note-taking skills and his descriptions are amazing. We can learn so much from them. Verse 141. Ek parichedera katha anek prakara mukhya kahilun katha na yai vistar. In every chapter there are various topics, but I have selected only those that are principal, for not all of them could be described again. This is verse 141. Verses 142 and 143. Shri Radha Saha Shri Madan Mohana Shri Radha Saha Shri Govinda Charana Shri Radha Saha Shri Gopinath 18 Thakur Haya Gaudiyar Nath. The 3 main deities of the Gaudiyas are Shri Radha Madan Mohan, Shri Radha Govind, and Shri Radha Gopinath. The Vrindavan deities of Madan Mohan with Srimati Radharani, Govinda with Srimati Radharani and Gopinath Vishwamati Radharani are the life and soul of the Gaudiya Vaishnavas. Verses 144 and 146. Shri Krishna Chaitanya, Shri Yutananda, Nityananda, Shri Advaitacharya, Shri Gaura Bhaktavinda, Shri Rupa, Shri Sarup, Shri Rupa, Shri Sanatan, Shri Guru, Shri Raghunath, Shri Jeeva Charana, Nija Shire Dhari, A Sabar Charana, Yaha Haite Haya Sabha Vanchita Purna. So that my desires may be fulfilled, I place the lotus feet of these personalities on my head. Lord Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu with Lord Nityananda, Advaitacharya and the devotees, as well as Shri Swarup Damodar Goswami, Shri Rup Goswami and Sanatan Goswami, Shri Raghunath Das Goswami, who is my spiritual master, and Shri Rup Jeev Goswami. Shri Raghunath Das Goswami was the instructing spiritual master of Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, and thus therefore been described as Shri Guru. Verse 147. Sabar Charan Kripa Guru Upadhyai Moravani Shishya Tare. Verse 147. Sabar Charan Kripa Guru Upadhyai Moravani Shishya Tare Bahut Nachai. Upadhyai, my teacher of Vedic instruction. Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami is saying here, the mercy of the lotus feet is my spiritual master, and my words are my disciples that I have made dance in various ways. Purport: Upadhyay or Upadhyay refers to one who teaches when approached. Upetya adhiyate asmat. In the Manu Samhita it is said, Ek desham tu vedasya vedangani Upadhyaya refers to one who teaches when approached. Tupetya adhiyate asmat in the Manu Samhita. One who teaches Ekadesham tu vedasya vedangani apivaya puraha yo dhyapayati vritti artham upadhyaya. When approached Upetya adhiyate asmati in the Manu Samhita it is said. So we have already, I think, read this verse, but we will read it again. Ekadesham tu vedasya vedangani api va punah yo dhyapayati vritti artham upadhyayah sa uchite. One who teaches others a part of the Vedas or literature supplementary to the Vedas may be called Upadhyaya. Upadhyaya also refers to one who teaches them. Verse 140. Shishyar Shrama Dekhi Guru Nachan Rakhila Kripa Na Nachaye Vani Vasiya Rahila. Seeing the fatigue of the disciples, the spiritual master has stopped making them dance, and because that mercy no longer makes them dance, my words now sit silently. Verse 149. Anipuna Vani Apane Nachite Na Jane Yat Nachaila Nachi Karila Vishrame. My inexperienced words do not know how to dance by themselves. The mercy of the Guru made them dance as much as possible, and now, after dancing, they have taken rest. Verse 150. Sabha Shrota Ganera Kari Charana Vandana Yana Sabar Charana Kripa Subhera Karana. I am now worshipping the lotus feet of all my readers, for by the mercy of the lotus feet, there is still by the mercy of the lotus feet, there is all good fortune. Verse 151. Chaitanya Charitamrit ye jana shune tandra charan dhuna karo muni pane. If one hears the pastimes of Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu as described in Shri Chaitanya Charitamrit, wash his lotus feet and drink the water. So dhona is dhuna in Bengali, to wash, washing. Verse 152 Shrotra pada renu karon mastaka bhushana tomara e amrita pile safal haila shrama. I decorate my head with the dust of the lotus feet of my audience. Now, how you have all drunk this nectar, and therefore my labor is succeeded. Verse 153 Shri Rup Raghunath Pade Yar Ash Chaitanya Charitamrit Kahe Krishna Das. Praying at the lotus feet of Shri Rupa and Shri Raghunath, always desiring their mercy, I, Krishna Das, narrate Shri Chaitanya Charitamrit, following in their footsteps. Text 154 or verse 154. Charitam Amritam Etach Srila Chaitanya Vishnu Shubhadam Ashubhanashi Shraddheya Swadhyed Yah Tad Amal Pad Padme Bhringatam Etyaso Ayam Rasaiti Rasam Uchahe Prema Madhavika Puram. Chaitanya Charitamrit is filled with the activities of Shri Chaitanya Charitamrit, who is the Mahaprabhu, who is the Supreme Personality of Godhead Himself. It invokes all good fortune and destroys everyone. Shri Chaitanya Charitamrit Tad Amal Pad Padme Bhringatam Etyaso Ayam Rasayati Rasam Uchaye Prema Madhavika Puram. Chaitanya Charitamrit is filled with the activities of Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who is the Supreme Personality of Godhead Himself. It invokes all good fortune and destroys everything inauspicious. If one tastes the nectar of the Chaitanya Charitamrit with full faith and love, I become like a bumblebee lasting the honey of transcendental. I become like a bumblebee, tasting the honey of transcendental love from his lotus feet. Verse 155 Shriman Madan Gopal Govinda Deva Tushtaye Chaitanyarpitam Astva Etach Chaitanya Charitamrita. Since this book, Chaitanya Charitamrita, is now complete, having been written for the satisfaction of the most opulent deities, Madan Mohanji, Govind Devji, let it be offered at the lotus feet of Sri Krishna Chaitanya Deva. Verse 156 Parimala Vasita Bhuvanam Swarso Namadhita Rasagna Rolamban Giridhar Charanam Bhojam Kah Khalu Rasikah Samihate Hatum. Realized devotees are like bumblebees, maddened by their own mellows of Krishna's lotus feet. The scent of those lotus feet perfumes the entire world. Who is the realized soul that could give them up? This is verse 156. Verse 157. Shake Sindhva Agni Vanendav Jeshthe Vrindavanantare Suryahe Sita Panchamayam Grantho Ayam Purnatam Gataha. I will read the word-to-word meaning of the last verse as well. Shake in the Shakabda era, Sindhu Agni Vanendav in 1537, Jeshthe in the month of Jeshtha, that is May/June, Vrindavan Antare in the forest of Vrindavan, Surya Ahe on the day of the sun, which is Sunday, Asit Panchamyam on the 5th day of the dark fortnight, Grantha book, I am this Chaitanya Charitamrit, Purnatam completion, Gataha achieved. In Vrindavan, the year 1537, Shakabda era, in the month of Jesht, May/June, on Sunday the 5th of the waning moon, That is when the moon was decreasing in the size, going towards the dark moon night. This Chaitanya Charitamrita has been completed. Thus end the Bhaktivedanta purpose to the Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita Antilila, 20th chapter, describing the meaning of Śikṣāṣṭaka and how the Lord tasted it himself. This is the end of the Antilila. Krishna's Kaviraj Goswami ki jai, but Chaitanya Mahaprabhu ki jai, Shad Goswami's ki jai. But we will read the concluding words also from Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada is the one who did all the purports for us in the whole of the Chaitanya, for the whole of Chaitanya Charitamrita, whether it was the Adi, Madhya or the Antilila. So let us read the concluding words from Srila Prabhupada, which are at the end of this volume. Today, Sunday, November 10th, 1974, corresponding to the 10th of Kartik, Chaitanya era 488, the 11th day of the dark fortnight, the Ramadashi Ekadashi, we have now finished the English translation of Sri Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita in accordance with the authorized order of His Divine Grace Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Goswami Maharaj, my beloved eternal spiritual master, guide and friend. Although according to material vision, His Divine Grace Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada passed away from this material world on the last day of December 1936, I still consider His Divine Grace to be always present with me by His Vani, His words. There are two ways of association by Vani and by Vapu. Vani means words and Vapu means physical presence. Physical presence is sometimes appreciable and sometimes not, but Vani continues to exist eternally. Therefore, we must take advantage of the Vani, not the physical presence. Bhagavad-Gita, for example, is the Vani of Lord Krishna. Although Krishna was personally present 5,000 years ago and is no longer physically present, from the materialistic point of view, Bhagavad-Gita continues. In this connection, we may call to memory the time when I was fortunate enough to meet His Divine Grace, Srila Prabhupada. Sometimes in the year 1922, Srila Prabhupada had come to Calcutta from Sridham Mayapur to start the missionary activity of the Gaudiya Math. He was sitting in the house of Ulta Danga when, through the inducement of an intimate friend, the late Shriman Narendranath Malik, I had the opportunity to meet His Divine Grace for the first time. I do not remember the actual date of the meeting, but at that time I was one of the managers of Dr. Bose's laboratory in Calcutta. I was a newly married young man addicted to Gandhi's movement and dressed in khadi. Fortunately, even at our first meeting, His Divine Grace advised me to preach the cult of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in English in the Western countries, because at that time I was a complete nationalist, a follower of Mahatma Gandhi's. I submitted to His Divine Grace that unless our country were freed from foreign subjugation, no one would hear the message of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu seriously. Of course, we had some argument on the subject, but at last I was defeated and convinced that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's message is the only panacea for suffering humanity. I was also convinced that the message of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was then in the hands of a very expert devotee, and that surely the message of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu would spread all over the world. I could not, however, immediately take up his instructions to preach, but I took his words very seriously and was always thinking of how to execute his order. Although I was quite unfit to do so. In this way, I passed my life as a householder until 1950, when I retired from the family life as Vanaprastha with no companion. I loitered here and there until 1958, when I took sannyas. Then I was completely ready to discharge the order of my spiritual master. Previously, in 1936, just before His Divine Grace passed away at Jagannath Puri, I wrote him a letter asking that what could I do to serve him. In reply, he wrote me a letter dated 13 December 1936, ordering me in the same way to preach in English the cult of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, as I had heard it from him. After he passed away, I started the fortnightly magazine Back to Godhead sometimes in 1944 and tried to spread the cult of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu through this magazine. After I took sannyas, a well-wishing friend suggested that I write books instead of magazines. Magazines, he said, might be thrown away, but books remain perpetually. Then I attempted to write Srimad Bhagavatam. Before that, when I was a householder, I had written on Srimad Bhagavad-Gita and had completed about 1100 pages. But somehow or other, the manuscript was stolen. In any case, when I had published Srimad Bhagavatam first canto in 3 volumes in India, I thought of going to the USA. By the mercy of His divine grace, I was able to come to New York on September 17, 1965. Since then, I have translated many books, including Srimad Bhagavatam, Bhakti Rasamrit Sindhu, Teachings of Lord Chaitanya, that is a summary, and many others. In the meantime, I was induced to translate Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita and publish it in an elaborate version in his leisure time in later life. His divine grace, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, would simply read Chaitanya Charitamrita. It was his favorite book. He used to say that there would be a time when foreigners would learn the Bengali language to read Chaitanya Charitamrita. The work on this translation began about 18 months ago. Now, by the grace of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and his divine grace, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, it is finished. In this connection, I have to thank my American disciples, especially Shriman Pradyumna Das Adhikari, Shriman Nitai Das Adhikari, Shriman Jayadvaita Das Brahmachari, and many other boys and girls who are sincerely helping me in writing, editing, and publishing all these literatures. Jayadvaita Das Brahmachari, I guess, is Jayadvaita Swami Maharaj now. I think that His divine grace, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, is always seeing my activities and guiding me within my heart by His words. As it is said in Srimad Bhagavatam, Tene Brahma Rida Ya Adi Kavaye, spiritual inspiration comes from within the heart, wherein the Supreme Personality of Godhead in His Paramatma feature is always sitting. With all His devotees and associates, it is to be admitted that whatever translation work I have done is through the inspiration of my spiritual master, because personally I am most insignificant and incompetent to do the materially impossible work. I do not think myself a very learned scholar, but I have full faith in the service of my spiritual master, His divine grace, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. If there is any credit to my activities of translating, it is all due to His divine grace. Certainly, if His divine grace were physically present at this time, it would have been a great occasion for jubilation. But even though He is not physically present, I am confident that He is very pleased by this work of translation. He was very fond of seeing many books published to spread the Krishna consciousness movement. Therefore, our society, the International Society for Krishna Consciousness, has performed to execute the order of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and His divine grace, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. It is my wish that devotees of Lord Chaitanya all over the world enjoy this translation, and I am glad to express my gratitude to the learned men in the Western countries who are so pleased with my work that they are ordering in advance all my books that will be published in the future. On this occasion, therefore, I request my disciples who are determined to help me in this work to continue their cooperation fully, so that philosophers, scholars, religionists, and people in general all over the world will benefit by reading our transcendental literatures such as Srimad Bhagavatam and Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita. Thus end the Bhaktivedanta purports to Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, dated 10th November 1974 at the Bhaktivedanta Book Trust, Hare Krishna Land, Juhu, Bombay. So sorry readers, I got bit choked up reading Prabhupada's description at the end of the translations of Chaitanya Charitamrita, how he's thanking, just like Krishna's Kaviraj Goswami has been thanking his gurus at the end of each chapter. And similarly, how Prabhupada at his ripe age took all the pains for us. And it's due to him that we are reading all this, and all of us are getting introduced or somehow coming to Krishna consciousness. And this has been our endeavor on this our channel, or as well to pass whatever little we understand. So even if someone hears one line of the translations or the purports by Srila Prabhupada, the love for the Godhead is awakened. And please forgive me for any wrong mispronunciations in the reading. And we conclude the reading of the Chaitanya Charitamrita today on the Kamika Ekadashi. Today is Ekadashi. And I take your leave, and I feel so bewildered. I can't even remember what date it is. It is Wednesday, Kamika Ekadashi, 31st July 2024. Thank you for joining. Hariam Tat Sat. Hare Krishna. Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami ki jai. Panchatattva ki jai. Gauranga Mahaprabhu ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. अपने अपने गुरुदेव की जय. सभी शिक्षा गुरुज की जय. सभी के, if you are initiated, say jai to शिक्षा दीक्षा gurus as well. Samveta Bhaktivinoda की जय. Gaura Premanande. Hari Hari Bol. Hare Krishna. Hariam Tat Sat. Hare Krishna.